All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Late Night Shots Podcast, episode 115. We probably have one of our biggest guests of all today. We have Olympic champion Kenny Monday. So, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I'm blessed.
It's yeah, 100%. It's
Yeah,
great to have you on. Our first Olympic champion. I'll hopefully get some more on the future, but
yeah,
I think it's a big time for you. You had your one son just make the national finals, Quincy. Your other
yep.
one's about to commit pretty soon. So, what's it like right now?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Living the dream. That moment, watching Quincy in the NCAA finals, that's for Americans. That's one of our greatest, That's one of our greatest accomplishments, making the NCAA finals. And so I can remember all three of mine and nothing like it. I mean, of course, I've been in a lot of finals, of course, Olympic finals, world finals, state finals. NCAA finals is it's its own deal. It's what every American, mostly probably 99% of Americans strive for that NCAA finals match. And so, that's a moment that stays with you for the rest of your life. Win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
being a dad of two guys that are both at, one is going to transfer, I'm sure, to a great Division I program, and then obviously Quincy's at Princeton, getting not just a great wrestling career going, but as well as getting such a great degree from a school like Princeton. I mean, you
yeah,
got to be proud. So, I mean, you could just talk a little bit about, them growing up and the impact you had on them and all that, and how proud you are of them now to where they've come now.
yeah. It's been a great journey. You never know if your kids are going to take to the sport. Wrestling is a tough sport, right? And I've got a lot of teammates, Olympic teammates, that sons that didn't wrestle, right? Didn't have boys that wrestle, and so it's not a given. I remember when they first started wrestling at 5 and 6. The first time that they shoot at the same time and they hit heads. You kind of know if they're going to be wrestlers or not, if they're going to fall off. Like, it's not for me. So when they get up and you're okay, and I remember what happened for both of them, right? When they hit, shoot at the same time and knock each other out, kind of thing, and get up, say, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "All right, shake it up, shake it off, get back in there." And when they get back in there, I say, "Okay, I got some wrestlers." Right? So it's been a just a great journey, and it's not over, but for them to kind of continue the Monday legacy. I have two older brothers that wrestled before me, and I kind of followed those guys into the wrestling room. And when I started when I was 5, I just never looked back, and caught a vision and a dream when I was 10 years old, of being Olympic champion, and that's kind of where it started. I watched this 1972 Olympic Games, and so then that's kind of where my journey took off. And then to watch those guys come back and wrestle and love the sport and thrive in the sport, it's a special thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you yourself had quite the NCAA career.
Yeah.
You wrestling out of Oklahoma State. So, I mean, you could talk a little bit about what it was like there. Your start at Oklahoma State coming out of college, and
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like for you being at I mean, back then that was probably the wrestling college to be at, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, it was one of them for sure. It was one of them for sure. I mean, I was coming out of high school. I was recruited by just about everybody. And being from Oklahoma at that point in time, Oklahoma was pretty good state for wrestling, still is, but it was kind of a hotbed back then. And OU was really good, and OSU was really good. And so I know at that point I didn't want to leave Oklahoma. So it was going to be, it came down between OU and OSU, and I chose OSU. But man, it was a fun time. We had big crowds, and that's when OU and OSU. I mean, when I went to Oklahoma State, OU had 9 returning All-Americans. They had the Schultz brothers, they had Dr. Death, they had Roger Frizell, they had, they had a great team coming back. And so OSU and OU was just a hot bedlam. It was just like a crazy match. You just never knew who was going to win. And so that was when bedlam was really bedlam. And so I was a part of some really good matches, and the matches went back and forth. So that was really fun, man. It really we had big crowds again, and it was just a fun time to be a part of wrestling. And so they need to get that back. It's not so much Bedlam anymore, but they need to get that rivalry back to where it used to be.
Fast forward in your career a little bit, I think probably the most iconic match of your career was the 1989 World Finals. You have you coming off of Olympic gold medal, and then you have Arsen Fadzeev coming off his Olympic gold medal. He bumps up to take you on, 8-time world and Olympic champ. You're going into that match. You knocked off, both of you are, but you knocked off probably a top 10 wrestler of all time there. And what was it like going into that match? And like, what are you feeling?
I was excited, and I was really pumped. It's so funny because I didn't know he was in the weight class until maybe 10 minutes before weigh-ins, at the World Championships. And so, of course, I watched Fadzeev growing up, and he actually, I got to wrestle one time when I was in college. My junior year in college, they came through, like getting ready for the 84 Olympic Games, and they came through in 83, I think. And I got to wrestle him, and he kicked my butt. But I took him down twice. But I was still in college, and he was so good. So I watched him throughout his career. When I was starting to kind of make my move internationally, after 84, I studied him, and I studied Beloglezov. I studied a lot of the Russian guys before me, and he was one of the ones I studied. And so when he came up, my first thought was like, man, he's a 49-pounder. He's too small, right? He's too small. Because at that point, I was a solid 163-pounder, and I was pretty much whooping all the 49-pounders, like the guys that were on our team, USA team, all those guys. They really couldn't wrestle with me, And so that was my first thought. But then I saw his first couple matches in the World Championships, and he was kind of going through the guys, right? And I was like, this guy must be strong. He must be really strong, right? And so I kind of readjusted my mind and said, okay, I need to be ready. I need to be ready for him. And but no, I was excited. I'm always excited to wrestle Russians. Throughout my career, I was always excited to wrestle against the Russians. They were so good, man. They were so good, and they were the guys to beat, and they're still the guys to beat. And but I went in very confident. At that point, I was really wrestling well. I had a great tournament, and I was wrestling well. I was at the top of my game, and so I was very confident going into that match. I thought I'd win. I didn't know. I definitely had to adjust my strategy during the course of the match, but once I kind of got the feel of where his shots were coming from, then I knew I could get him.
Yeah. You wrestled at one of the prime eras, of the wrestling for the entire world, right? You have yourself, Lee Kemp, looking internationally, you have Fadzeev, as we were talking about, Sergey, Karelin won his first Olympic gold medal in '88.
Yeah.
Looking back on that now, like where do you think the whole legacy of it all stands?
That was and it still is one of the greatest time frames of wrestling. There's a lot of great wrestlers. I mean, guys that were like multiple time world champions. I mean, just legends of the sport. So it was really a great time to watch wrestling, be a part of that whole era. Of course, I had to beat Dave Schultz to make the team, and Nate Carr to make the team. And so we had some really, not just. They were just legends of the sport. Fadzeev is a legend of the sport. Farayev is a legend of the sport. Saitiev is a legend of the sport. So I was very proud and I can reach back in my career and say, man, I've wrestled some of the greatest wrestlers to ever wrestle. So that's just that in itself is an amazing feat, amazing accomplishment. Just to be able to wrestle against those kind of guys and be competitive, right? And so no, it was a great time to be a wrestler, for sure.
Yeah, another big thing, you said you had to beat Nate Carr to make the team.
Yeah.
Both of your sons could be competing against each other in national finals next year. That's like a whole full circle moment for you. Like, what's that like to see? Is like all your kids just competing against each other?
It was cool, man. It was really cool. Of course, it's great to see, our kids, take up the sport and kind of carve out their own legacies, their own careers. I mean, it's so, I know David, Carr and his son, we've been knowing each other for a while, and I pull for him, and he's a great kid. I love the kid, and so it was great to see him. I was excited for him when he won last year. I was pumped, and but just a great young man. Just a great for the sport. He's a great teammate. So yeah, Quincy they hadn't got to Russell yet. So we thought they were going to hit this year in the quarterfinals, but then David ended up losing the second round match, and so we thought actually the semis they would hit, and so we were ready for that. And so because Quincy really wants to wrestle and never wrestled, and so we thought they were going to hit. They didn't get that chance. So hopefully next year they get another chance to hit. But also my teammate Mike Sheets, his son Wyatt, and Quincy was in the same weight class. So they got to wrestle. Yeah. They wrestled a dual meet when Princeton wrestled Oklahoma State, and so Quincy got to go back to Stillwater, and wrestle Wyatt in Gallagher Arena. So that was pretty special. That's pretty special to see those kids wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's it's pretty much the prime era right now of all the legends of the sport. Now all their kids are at that age where now they're fighting for NCAA titles, and obviously they'll move on to the freestyle scene, and they're all going to start competing to get on that Olympic team. I know it's right. Like you said, Wyatt Sheets, and then both of your sons, and David Carr, and then Lee Kemp's son Adam. He's at Cal Poly. There's so many kids who have just legendary legacies of their parents. So I mean, it's an exciting time for wrestling, because it's you get to hear these last names, and you kind of just get to remember all the crazy stuff that you guys did. And now we have their sons who are now they're striving to be, I'm sure your kids both look up to you extremely, your wrestling, status. So I mean, might as well just talk a little bit about it. You're the coach at Spire Academy, one of the new, up and coming programs for high school wrestling. So well, you could talk a little bit about that. What's up with Spire and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just it's a brand new program. Inspire is it's an amazing boarding school, prep school that has been started. And I got hired last year to come and start a program, and so I'm excited just to build a program from scratch and get back on this side of wrestling and work with high school kids. I think. And the reason I took the job, just because the boys, Kennedy and Quincy, they're on their way. I mean, they're men, and Quincy's got one more year at Princeton, and Kennedy's got another year maybe. So they're on their way. And so now I feel like I can kind of step away from those guys and get back and start trying to reinvest in young men and women, and try to put those guys in college and get them, get them where they want to be, and help them to fulfill their dreams and goals. And I love the sport, man. I love the sport. I've been in the sport since I was 5. I'm 60 now, so 55 years I've been in the sport of wrestling, right? And so I think one of the greatest things in my life is the platform that I get to go back after winning the Olympic gold, go back and reinvest in the kids and sell the dream. I'm living the dream, and every day I wake up, I'm an Olympic champion, and I get to share that my story with kids all over the world, and so I'm just kind of trying to do my part, man, to try to keep the sport going and keep these kids building this legacy of the sport, right? And so I'm just I'm excited about reaching out, and my vision for this program, Inspire, is to build a nationally ranked high school team. We also have a post-grad opportunity for kids. We have a post-grad program, so kids that need that extra year, that gap year to develop. They're not quite ready to go to college, or they haven't quite built that value up to get a higher scholarship offer. We've got a program for them to come here and develop, and just let me train them up and give them a year of development to get ready for college. And so we also have that, and then we also have at some point, I want to have an RTC program too, so that people can come here to, try to train for the Olympic Games and try to make Olympic teams and world teams. And because we've got the facility, and we got everything you need. We got, just an incredible cafeteria. We got incredible boarding. We're building a whole new set of dormitory, a dorm apartment-like complex for our students, and we got Spire's got we got basketball, we've got track and field, we got swimming, we got lacrosse. We get to try to build a soccer program too, and so it's kind of like an Olympic training center. It's just a performance training center, and so every athlete here, every student here is an athlete, and so it's really cool to see, the sports intermingle, right? Like the basketball players, they're like all cheering our guys on, like in practice. We're on the same court sometimes we practice, and they're like screaming over there, yeah, come on, guys, so we're going back and forth. We might go over there and shoot some hoop with them too. So it's just a great environment, man, for kids to come and learn, and kids that are serious about getting better, getting the most out of their sport. And so I'm just really excited about the future of Spire.
And man, I gotta ask you guys, being kind of a new on the scene for for obviously college prep wrestling. So what's that been like for you as a coach, trying to get guys to come out to Spire when you're competing with schools like SEM and Blair and St. Ed's? What do you think Spire kind of differentiates from a SEM or a Blair or a St. Ed's? These powerhouse prep schools who have been kind of running the table at prep nationals for the last however many years.
Yeah, it's a challenge, man. It's not easy. It's not easy. And but I love a challenge. That's kind of who I am. I love a challenge. I love being against all odds. It's kind of I've kind of been against all odds all my life, and so I love that. I love that challenge of it, right? And so I think what the biggest difference is me. You get coached by an Olympic champ, right? And so that's one of the major differences, of course. And then again, we're set up, and we're not like those, because all of our students are athletes, and so we have that environment, right? And then we also have, we're hosting U23s. U23s will be here. World Team Trials will be here in the first weekend in June. So we're hosting tournaments, we're hosting events. So if you know anybody that's looking for a location to do a wrestling event, we have the perfect facility to host any, if it's dual meets, if it's camps, if it's tournaments. We had the defense duels here, middle school duels here early in the year. And so that's my focus, man, is to try to build. At some point, I even want to try to do World Team Trials here, or World Team Training Camp here. We're building a brand new wrestling room. And so this will be a wrestling destination.
You guys could fit World Team Trials, you think?
Yes. Absolutely.
Holy God. That's a big event.
We're doing U23s here.
Yeah, which is just the same size. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like that. But it's we've got the ability to host that.
Yeah, that's insane. That's pretty crazy to think of. A kind of a high school college prep style school having that much room for wrestling, especially to host an event like that. Even U23s, that's a massive event. I'm sure there'll be a couple thousand people there.
Yep, it is. We had a huge facility. We had 750,000 square feet of facility. We just bought another 500 acres around our facility. We're building a brand new hotel on a Marriott on our property, right in front of our property. We're doing one. Actually, we have plans to do 2 hotels on site. So one will be done in the fall. The Marriott will be done in the fall with the Starbucks. We're getting a brand new wrestling room. Will be done in the fall, and then we got plans to do like a little mini golf course on property, more dorms, senior residence for seniors. So we got some big plans for this property, man, and it's going to be something like you've never seen before.
Heavyweight Nation might have to come out and watch Aspire dual meet.
Absolutely. You're welcome, man.
We might have to make it happen.
I'll show you a good time.
Yeah. So one of the big things I want to ask about, I know Jordan Burroughs a couple months ago announced that he would be opening up an academy of his own, You could have how they do special dual meets, 2 Olympic champs coaching against each other. That could be like a thing of the future now.
Yeah, Jordan, I think he's got kids, he's got little kids, right? So he's got to try to build. It's the same thing I did when I took a job in Texas to run a club team for 10 years, right? So I built that club team up. We had maybe 80 kids in the club team Monday. And then those kids went off to high school. So we picked out this one high school that one of the parents went to, and then so it was a Bishop Lynch. It was a prep school. And so those kids came out of my club team, went to this high school. So I was still coaching them at Bishop Lynch. And we got third, three years in a row behind Blair Academy in the Prep Nationals. We beat Wyoming. We beat, who else we beat? Like, there was a really hot team. I think, I forget the other team we beat, but we were behind Blair. We didn't beat Blair, but we were close one year. But they ended up, beating us. But we were right there, right? So that's kind of what we want to create here. Is we want to create that competitive school.
Definitely. So, I mean, obviously, that's some big things to fill. So, I mean, if you want to touch a little bit about some of your guys who are in your program now that are going to, hopefully be some up and coming studs and, in the wrestling community looking to be some D1 guys.
We'll see. It's coming. I can't let the cat out of the bag yet, but believe me, it's going to take me a few years to build it, of course. I've got a couple good kids that are signed up coming, and we just kind of work out the schematic, just kind of the details of it. But I've got probably eight or nine kids signed up for next year that have applied, and so we're kind of working through that. But we'll talk about it. We'll let you know when it happens.
Yeah, I definitely think one person that I think a lot of schools are really trying to land is obviously Bo Bissett. Them announcing that PIAA announced that they would no longer be able to compete. In the PA state tournament for the rest of their time in high school, which I think we're gonna hopefully have Bo on coming up here soon in the next couple after he competes in his postseason competition to kind of let him talk about it. But I mean, anybody who is in the wrestling community knows that was a very harsh punishment that they got. Probably one of the worst
It was, man. You never want to see that. I don't know the details behind it. I don't know if you never want to see kids denied an opportunity. Of course, there's rules that everyone must follow, and we can't overlook that. So I don't really know what the bottom line was there. I hate to see kids, get denied opportunities, but it is what it is, and those kids will go somewhere that and those are high level kids. I mean, they love the sport. They work hard. They got a system in place. I doubt if they'll become inspired, but we'll get to. If we don't get them, we'll get to compete against them.
Yeah.
So we had them here they were here for the defense self duels. So they brought their team down. So I got to kind of hang out with them a little bit and watch them up close and personal. I had never met them. So
studs. I've been able to get the opportunity to watch him wrestle in person. Insane.
Yeah, he is, man. We've seen kids like, all those kids like, David Taylor's, the Stevers, the Jordan Oliver's, we've seen guys like that, Snyder's that come through and they're dominant, and those kids dominant, and as kids, he's got a long career, right? And I have no doubt that he'll be on that level, but we got to let the process be the process, because we've seen kids come through there and some of those kids don't make it to the next level. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it works out. I think he's got a bright future ahead. Hopefully things stay on track with him, so we'll see. I just don't think that people sometimes, you get a kid like that and they're phenoms, Kerry Collette was kind of like that. They come up and there's so much pressure on those guys to win. It's all about winning, and they end up falling off a little bit. So hopefully he keeps it healthy and keeps working and keeps everything in perspective. I think the issue sometimes we get with flow wrestling and, track and all these different opportunities that these kids have, and they kind of blow these kids' head up, man. And these kids are like, they're superstars coming out, right? And they really hadn't got to that level where it really matters. I mean, this kid wrestling is one thing, but college wrestling is something different, international wrestling is something different, right? And then, so they can be a phenom right now and they never get to that next level. So kind of let the kid be a kid, man, and let him go through the levels for sure.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the Spire Wrestling page right now, and it shows some of the guys that you've coach or help coach,
Yeah,
some, big names, obviously the biggest right now, you have Jordan Oliver, just made the Olympic team last year, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
Kendall Cross, Coleman Scott, Chris Perry. Like,
yeah.
what was it like, coaching these guys, just in general?
Yeah, it was fun, man. If somebody asked me the other day who's my favorite, who's the best wrestler, my favorite wrestler I ever coached, and they're all good guys, man. I mean, Chris Perry is one of my favorite guys. He was, just a sponge. Of course, him and his dad and me were teammates coming through. So I've been knowing him since he's a little boy. Um, I've got a chance to work with Jordan. Yeah, when I first went back to Oklahoma State, Jordan was a sophomore, just finished his freshman year. I went back to Oklahoma State and became the RTC coach, and so I got to kind of watch him and kind of coach him a little bit when he was in college, and then Coleman Scott, was at Oklahoma State, and so I got to coach him through the Olympics, and that was fun. And Coleman was just a sponge. He's just an incredible athlete, and but just loved to compete, man. Just a tough dude, So it was so fun to coach him, and then of course Jordan is just Jordan Oliver is probably one of the craftiest wrestlers I've coached. He's such a intelligent wrestler, and he just he remembers everything. He remembers every match, what he did, what technique he used. For when he was in high school, he could remember, just certain matches, and I can't think of any of those matches. One or two matches I can remember when I was in high school, but he remembers everything. So he's got just a serious head when it comes to wrestling. But I got to be around some of the best guys. I've been around Snyder. I've been around Burroughs. I've been around, been in training camp with these guys for during the 2012 Olympic Games, and so got to be in a room with Jordan some. We kind of worked with him a little bit, and I don't know which one is the best, but it's been just a great opportunity to work with those guys. Of course, I've been on teams with John Smith and watched I watched him develop his low single. I actually watched him develop the low single in the room. And so just being on the team with him and then being coached by Bobby Douglas, being in the room with Dan Gable, being in the room with Gene Mills and Randy Lewis and Chris Campbell. So just been around Kevin Jackson. I can't forget Kevin Jackson, been in the room with him. And so I've been around some of the greatest guys, Bruce Baumgartner, Schultz, Boys. I can go on, and then we're talking about Lee Kemp, man. And Lee Kemp was, of course, he was the guy I looked up to. I watched him when he was in college winning national titles. I was a little boy, right, getting his autograph, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm a match away from wrestling Lee Kemp in '84 Olympic trials. I didn't never get to wrestle Lee. I'm a match away from wrestling. I'm so pissed off I didn't get that. So I lost to Mike Deanna in the quarterfinals. He had Lee the next round in the semifinals, and Lee beat him. Lee beat him, and then he went on to wrestle Dave. He lost to Dave in the finals of the '84 Olympic trials. So I never got to wrestle Lee. But when he was telling you the story about him being in New York, so I was the year I won Tbilisi, we were leaving from New York. A plane left from New York, from Oklahoma to New York, and so I had a friend, John Jurd, was living in New York. So he was on the tour, and so we went. Me and Mike Sheets went and hung out with Jurd for a few days. Lee was living in New York, working at Clairol, and or this company Clairol in New York. So he came to work out with us a couple of days. Him and John were friends, and he came and kind of rolled with us a little bit before I went to Tbilisi. And so I got to spend some really good time with him those couple of days. And we talked about his whole Olympic experience, kind of the changing of the guard with him and Dave Schultz. Of course, I was going through the same thing with Dave, right? So it was kind of the changing of the guard with me and Dave. So he kind of gave me some insight on where his head was, and it really helped me, man. It really put me in a good headspace going forward, right? So I got to work out with Lee, so that was really cool. And he came, like he said, he came to training camp in Big Bear, California. I got to wrestle with him a little bit. I felt good because I kind of got the best of him. So I got to wrestle with Lee a little bit, and then he came to the Olympic Games, and so he was turning me on the Olympic Games. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
obviously one of the biggest things with Lee Kemp was when the U.S. didn't go to the Olympics when they were in Russia.
Yeah,
And everybody proclaims that he would have won the gold medal.
For sure.
He was the number
For
one
sure.
guy in the world.
Absolutely.
It was
absolutely. And it's tough because, watching Lee at that level, man, I was a big fan. Of course, you know, I'm the first Black Olympic champion, and in the history of the sport, right? So, but Lee would have been the first if he'd got to wrestle in the '80 Olympic Games. He would have been the first, right? And it's historic. It's really historic to be the first in anything is historic, right? And so because he was a world champion in '81 and '82, so he was the best guy in the world at that point in time, for sure.
If you had to, you know, when you were a kid, like you obviously see, I don't know if Medved was before your time, but you see like all these crazy good wrestlers. If you had to pick one that you looked up to and that really changed the trajectory of your career going forward, who would that be?
It's hard to say one, man. It's really, really hard to say one. I think probably the biggest impact I had, just because he was the guy, was probably Gable when he won the '72 Olympic Games. So I was 10 years old. And that was the first time that I realized that you could be an Olympic champion in the sport of wrestling. You can be a world champion in the sport of wrestling. You can be best in the world in the sport of wrestling. And so, of course, growing up, you're in your own bubble, right? So you don't even know about all these other countries wrestling when you're a little kid. You really don't. That was the first time that I was able to kind of look beyond, our grounds in America and see that every other countries was doing the same thing we were doing. You're just so naive as a kid. And so, of course, the Gable was the guy, and he was all over Wide World Sports, and they showed his regimen and what he did. And, you know, I got to go get his autograph, because they wrestled in Stillwater, which is, I grew up in Tulsa. It was an hour away from Tulsa. So I got to go down and see Jimmy Carr. And Jimmy Carr, you talk about Nate and Dave. Jimmy Carr made Olympic team at 16. So I got to see him, and I got his autograph. And Rick Sanders, Rick Sanders was a bad boy. So I got to watch him wrestle, get his autograph. Gable got Gable's autograph. Wayne Wells was from Oklahoma, wrestled at the University of Oklahoma. He was an Olympic champion at 74 kilos, my weight class. And so he was Olympic. He got his autograph. You know, then they had the Peterson brothers. They were Olympic champ. Then Chris Taylor was like the biggest man I've ever seen in my life. And so I got to get his autograph. And so I was exposed to greatness early, man. And so it's kind of hard to say one, but of course, watching that team, that kind of had an impact on my life. And then I got to watch, kind of before that was Bobby Douglas. And Douglas probably was probably a bigger influence, just because he recruited my brother out of high school. And so I got to go to his camp when I was in the 7th grade. And then he wrote like a book about wrestling. So I got to study his book. And so he was a fascinating guy. And of course, he went to Oklahoma State. And so I kind of saw him a little bit. It was kind of, I was too young to really see him wrestle. But then, of course, I went back and followed his career. But Bobby Douglas probably had the bigger impact on me coming up.
Yeah, I know. I was watching an interview with Kel Sanderson. He said Bobby Douglas was, you know, probably the most impactful coach he ever had.
Yeah, for sure.
You see a lot of things about him everywhere about how he coached.
Well, you could see. I mean, Bobby had just an incredible wrestling mind. He really did, and you could see it in those guys. You could see, you know, KO. He coached KO. He's coached Kevin Jackson. You know, he coaches all. He coaches all. You know, so yeah, you could see Bobby's teaching in those guys. You know, I mean, Bobby had a fascinating wrestling mind. He really did. He understood the sport. And he, like I said, my brother came out of high school, and he was Bobby's first recruit. And so when my older brother, Michael, went to Arizona State, he came back this technique he came back with was just like, it just opened my mind to a whole different way to wrestle. And so like from the 7th and 8th grade, man, I didn't lose a match from the 7th grade to the 12th grade. I didn't lose. I was undefeated in Oklahoma. And so that really kind of, I was already on my way, but that really kind of took me to another level when he came back with the Bobby Douglas stuff, you know, level changing and creating angles and high crotches left, high crotches right. Yeah, I came back with some skill sets, man.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
you obviously keep up a lot with the sport nowadays. 74 kilos. You have Jordan Burroughs, Cal Dake,
Yep,
Sidakov, Cotty.
yep,
What do you feel about like the evolution, of wrestling? Because the sport's obviously evolved a lot more, better athletes, new age
yeah,
technique, and all stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. I think kids are just they have better opportunities early on than we did. I didn't wrestle. I didn't wrestle freestyle the whole time I was in college. I just focused on school. And I was focused on folk style wrestling. I didn't start wrestling. I didn't dedicate myself to freestyle wrestling until after '84, after I was finished at Oklahoma State. I mean, these guys are wrestling year round. We got the junior worlds, cadet worlds. We didn't really have all that. At least I wasn't a part of it. I think I made the junior world team when I was after my freshman year in college, but then I ended up not even going to the world championships. And so, but no, I just think it's a different world just because of the internet. And so now people can get online and they can see every match. They can see, technique. And so you can really educate yourself just watching wrestlers. We didn't have that opportunity. We kind of had to be there live. We didn't have the internet to watch and to learn, and everything you want to know, just Google it, right? And it's so funny. I love it because you really can't lie. You can't sit there and say, yeah, I was a state champ or NCAA champ, and I did this, did that. Okay, what's your name? Yeah. Let me Google it, right? And it tells you right there. So you really can't lie about stuff, right? So I get people coming up to me all the time. Yeah, we wrestled when we were 16. We wrestled, and you came my butt. You didn't pin me, but you kicked my butt. You just be making that stuff up. Just telling stories.
Yeah. So, obviously you're talking about, getting these opportunities. I'm not sure if you're a partner with Ruse Plus or you just did like the few things, but that's definitely one of the biggest platforms. I know they're reaching back, finding all this high quality content from trials and everything. So
Right.
they most
Yeah,
recently just had their card too.
Yeah, they're doing good, man. They're wrestlers that are about wrestlers, right? And so it's really good to see and be a part of that. I got a wrestling shoe coming out for the first time through Rudis, and so they are really reaching back and they're trying to connect, just the pioneers of the sport, right, to these young kids, man. Let them know that you've got history, right? You got legacies that you can learn from. And so now I'm really excited to work with those guys and be able to represent them. But I'm a big fan, man. I love all those guys. The guys that's on the circuit now, I think it's, there's, to me, they're one of the best ever. We had a good era. The Gables and the 72, they had a good era. But this era right here, man, I think it's better. It's probably better than we've ever had. I think, it's a lot of good kids, a lot of good wrestlers coming up. And because I think, the club team, RTCs, that's kind of revolutionized the sport of wrestling, right? Just a club team that now you can start a club and run a business and make a living with clubs, with the club team now. I think you can really do that. And that's kind of changed the game. Because now you got, before, all the wrestlers, either they went into college coaching or they went and got a job outside of wrestling. So now these guys are staying in the sport of wrestling. So now these kids that are coming up, they've got better coaching. They got better coaches. These kids got good habits coming up. And I think it's really changed the game. Yeah, it really has.
What were your thoughts? Obviously you got invited out to the Ruse card, I think the day before national start. What were your overall thoughts on the event? Obviously we didn't get invited out because not 21, it sucks.
Right. No, I thought it was great, man. I think we need to do that. And I think one thing that the pandemic showed us is that wrestling, it will survive. You just got to be more creative. You got to have creative minds. You got to be able to not be so old school and do things like you've always have. It really showed us that you can step out of the norm and do some things like the cards and these different things we were doing to promote the sport. These guys that's on the circuit now, they're superstars, man. These guys, the Sliders, the JBs, the Taylors, the Dakes, the Gables, they are bona fide superstars, right? And they should be marketed that way. they should be marketed all over the world that way. We just don't do a good enough job of marketing our superstars. We got superstars in college, from the Fixes to RBYs to, Quincy. I mean, these guys they could be superstars and they're entertaining. So we got to do more. We got to do a better job at promoting our stars. I mean, look at the NBA, the NFL. That's what they do. We got to market our stars, man. Let the world know we got some fascinating individuals here, and they need to be talked about. We need to tell their stories.
Yeah,
I think obviously the NCAA's addition to add, the NIL deals now. I think that's kind of helping, those guys who are in college, it's kind of helping them live a little bit easier, throughout the year. And then obviously, we saw this year, Gable Steveson, take pretty much the biggest NIL deal that has happened to, I want to say, any college athlete as of far. I mean, taking there's no official number to the public, but we're going to assume a multi-million-dollar WWE contract and, to obviously leave the sport of wrestling. Now he's kind of hinting if he wants to come back and wrestle at Final X. I know they did give him the opportunity. They did reach out to him and give him the opportunity, but
I wish he would, man. I wish he would. I love what he's doing. I love the opportunities he's get. I'm not a fan at all. I shouldn't even say a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of WWE. I never have been. And so I don't watch it. And I know I'm not going to watch it when he starts either, but I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's doing it because he's making a lot of money. The selfish part of me would like to see him wrestle more, of course, because I think he's just scratching the surface. He's not as good as he could be. He hadn't topped out. He has not topped out. Yeah. So I think he can get a lot better in the sport and be like truly one of the best ever if he really, really worked at his craft in the sport of wrestling. I think he could be as good as Bruce Baumgartner, one of those guys, So for him to walk away from the sport and put his shoes on the mat coming out of college, man,
Yeah, I mean, you were there in person, you were there in the arena when he did it. I mean, what was that moment like when he took those shoes off his feet? I mean, what was the crowd like? Just
I think you gotta appreciate who he is and what he's done. He's like a champ. He's NCAA champ. I would have loved to have seen him be a world champ and kind of stretch that thing out because that's kind of how we came up. We came up and Bruce wanted to make 4 or 5 Olympic teams. He wanted to be Olympic, 3-time Olympic champ, 2-time. John wanted to be 6-time. So we had guys who wanted to stretch that thing out. And be one of the best ever. That was always my goal. I wanted to be one of the best ever. I want to be, if you're talking about who's the best ever, I wanted to be in that conversation. He can't be in that conversation, I don't think. Just because he's world Olympic title, you can talk about it, but until you go and get a run like Jordan Burroughs, you can't be in that conversation. So it's kind of hard to. You got to appreciate what he's done, but again, he's got so much left in the tank, and so much better that he can get, and so I would rather see that. But you can't hold him back from what he wants to do. I mean, money is a serious carrot to go chase, and so it's kind of hard to see him give up on wrestling. Who knows if that's the last of it? But I won't be watching him in the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the whole thing was, especially nowadays, is you can't wrestle forever. But you have the Kyle Dake and you have the Jordan Burroughs who have kind of, to be honest, put that aside, and they've kind of showed, if you truly kind of work hard and keep your body right, you really could wrestle for as long as you want. I mean, obviously, Burroughs and Dake are, they're kind of getting up there in age a little bit.
How old are they? How old is Burroughs? 30?
30 right now. He's going to be 34 if he makes this team.
Yeah. So I wrestled until I was 36, So, you look at the guys, look at LeBron James. How old is LeBron James? So I think the only thing that kind of kept wrestlers from staying in the sport is the money part of it, right? The money side of it. And most guys, they get to a point where, okay, I need to go make some money. I got to go feed my family. But Burroughs is making a pretty good living. These guys, they're making a pretty good living, I think, and it's shown that, that keeps those guys in the sport. and it keeps them in the sport. So, you know, again, I think Burroughs is one of those guys. He wanted to be in that conversation. He wanted to be in the conversation. He's chasing, John Smith's, 6 titles. He wanted to be in that conversation, right? So he's kind of carved that out. I think Dake wants to be in that conversation.
This year's probably going to be massive. If Burroughs wins his 7th gold medal, he's in theory the most decorated American wrestler. Dake's going for his 4th. Taylor's going for his 4th. Snyder's going for his 4th. It's crazy that Snyder only has 4, but
Taylor's got how many? Taylor's got 2. He's only got a world title, 1.
Really?
And Olympic gold. Yeah. He's only won world title, 1 world title. And Olympic title, right?
Did he not win 2018?
No.
No, he didn't. No,
he's only got 1 world title. But he's in there. He's in there. I mean, he's definitely he's moving into that conversation as well. He's got a ways to go, but those guys are at the top of their game, man, and they're making some pretty good money. They're making some pretty good money to support their family, and so again, to me, it's the best time to be a wrestler, just because of all the opportunities that they have. We didn't have those opportunities coming through. We just didn't have them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're at a point in your career now where, other than coaching, you're kind of put your shoes up, on the rack, and you're kind of, obviously you're done competing and everything. So, I mean,
not so fast, man, not so fast. I still roll. I can still get out, right?
I'm sure you can.
I can still roll.
I know there was like a Flow episode. I think it was like Groundbreakers. Jordan Burroughs hosted it, and he actually rolled around with Lee Kemp, who, at his age now, I mean, it's incredible. And Jordan Burroughs was saying, Lee, man, I would never want to wrestle you in your prime, because JB was having a hard time taking him down, scoring on him, even now. So, I mean, hey, the old heads still got it. They're still in it. I mean, especially, I know you're probably rolling almost every day coaching.
Yeah. I still roll. Even when I was at UNC, I was rolling with the best guys. And I could still beat everybody in the room. UNC. I was at Oklahoma State. I was still rolling, beating everybody in the room. I couldn't beat Z. When I was at Oklahoma State, he was the only guy I couldn't beat. I couldn't beat Z. Big Russian heavyweight. I couldn't get him. But I wasn't easy. So I can still roll. For sure. I rolled with Burroughs a little bit. One time in UNC, he came in the room. We rolled a little bit, and I think I'd have got him. Back in the day.
Yeah,
I did. I think so.
Yes, one of the biggest things that's happening right now. Your son decided he wanted to come back and wrestle Kennedy. So I think he has 2 more years of eligibility.
No, he's got 1 year.
Okay.
Possibly. He's got to go. Sorry, getting phone calls.
Yeah.
He's got to get he missed 1 year because he was out. He had an injury, and he had a head injury, so he got a head deal, and so he missed 1 season, and so he can get that season back. But his time has run out on the eligibility. The COVID year thing, he kind of time ran out, so he's got opportunity to get one season back. So he's finishing his degree this summer, and then he'll make a decision on where he wants to try to go.
Yeah. So he's been talking with Mekhi Lewis. I'm pretty sure you've seen all of that. So we're assuming he's going to make his return at 174.
Yeah. I think Quincy's going up, and I told him that you can't go 65. If you're trying to come back, Quincy's going up to 65 probably, and you will not be in that weight class. So he's got to. If Quincy was going 57, he might go 65. But if Quincy's going 65, he's going 57. So.
He won't wrestle his brother?
No, not on the match.
No. That'd be kind of cool, though, to have both of the NCAA finals wrestling against each other.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how cool it would be at Christmas dinner, but I think it'd be pretty cool to see as fans of the sport, be able to see those 2 get after it. I'm sure you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Up.
I've seen it. They just were able to get a productive workout. Once they got to college, that was when they were first able to get a productive workout. Other than that, before that, they were just like punching each other in the face and couldn't get a real workout in. So now they're mature enough now to where they can actually get a workout in and it'd be productive for the most part.
Yeah. And then I know Kennedy recently, he's been training a little bit of kind of fighting a little bit, UFC, a little bit of grappling. He was just training with one of my teammates at the school I wrestle at.
Who's that?
Czar Charles.
Yeah.
He was.
Kenny's been training for 5-6 months straight MMA. You know, he wants to fight. He wants to fight, and he just made this decision to try to get back and wrestle. But yeah, he wants to fight, and so he's been training. He was training with AJ McKee. He was out there with McKee's training out with those guys for a good while. So he left there and he went to Alpha Male out with Faber, Uriah Faber, and those guys. And so he's been training. He's been really getting some good training in MMA. He's got some skills, and so yeah, he wants to do that. So he's been training pretty hard.
Yeah, I've heard from obviously one of my teammates. He had some pretty good hands. That's what he said was, he kind of thought when he came. Man. Yeah, he said
as long as his arms freaking touching the ground. He's so long. He's got some pretty good reach.
Yeah, like everybody, I guess when he walked in at Faber's gym, everybody kind of thought, he was going to be a wrestling, grapple, right. Score takedowns. But everybody that he talked to, and obviously he rolled a little bit with him, and he said, yeah, his hands are good. He's got the hands on him. Yeah,
he's getting there. He's learning. But I would have fought full time. I'd have went MMA full time after if the UFC was as big as it is now in after 92 Olympic Games, I'd have fought full time. I'd have been chasing that UFC title for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, this is kind of one of the only big outlets. I mean, you either continue wrestling or you go fight or box, or you just get a job. That's kind of
go coach. Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of guys that aren't gonna be able to make an Olympic team or a world team.
Right.
That
That's
finish
right.
up college and
right.
they. So I mean, that's pretty much the only two options if you want to fight, box, or get a job. So
that's right. That's right.
I'm obviously what's Quincy thinking? Is he thinking about wrestling still, or is he going to use his degree?
Quincy wants to wrestle. He wants to try to make an Olympic team. So he's pretty mad, and so I think after next year, after he finishes next year, I think he wants to wrestle for a couple of years, see if he can make an Olympic team, world team. He's going to do that, see how far he can go, and then I think he just kind of see where he is. So he's still getting better, man. He's still learning. He's still getting better. He's still getting better, right? So he's at the point now that both of those guys are at the point when they're good enough to where they can do whatever they want in the sport, right? It's just got to get behind the work, right environment, right coaching, right training partners, but they can do whatever they want in the sport. They're at that level where they can jump levels, to do whatever they want to do. So we'll see. I think he's got, like I said, he'll come out in 23. Of course, Olympics is in 24, and so he'll chase that and see where he is. See how he lines up. He's right there, man. He's right there with those guys. I mean, Deacon is one of the best guys in the country, and I've seen him work out with Jordan Burroughs. I've seen Quincy roll with Jordan Burroughs, and he held his own. And so he's right there, man. He can wrestle. We'll see how he does.
Is he registered for the Open?
No, he's gonna just kind of go through the summer, work, do camps, and then try to get ready for next year. Get ready for next year. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if he's gonna go to U23s. He went to U23s last year, but I don't know if he's gonna do it this year. We'll see. But I think he's just gonna try to focus on winning that national title next year, and then he'll come out and train after that.
Yeah, of course. If he's going up to 65, next year you got Shane Griffith, Keegan O'Toole, all those younger guys that have been out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now he feels good. He feels good about any of those guys. He feels like he can wrestle with any of those guys. And I agree. He can wrestle with any of those guys. He's just got to get out. He's 57 is kind of getting to be where it's, it's a pretty good cut for him, and it's hard enough as it is to classwork at Princeton. It's a hard load. You're trying to cut weight. It just doesn't add up, right? So got a little tough for him this year, and so he said he's going up. So we'll see. But the only thing is, he comes out at 57. He's number one ranked kid in the country in the beginning of the season. He went 57, because Deacon graduates. And so it's so funny. Deacon was just in a room in the pressing room last week. And so he called me. I saw him. Like, so Quincy, how'd that go? He goes, man, it was about like it was. It was even. You know, I got to take down. He got to take down, and the rest was even. You know, so. And but he's right there with them guys. He's right there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, Quincy, you know, he was definitely, you know, obviously a top 5 guy at NCAA's.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about it. You know, we did like our picks and everything. You know, it was pretty much interchangeable. Any of those guys in that weight class would be able to make a push.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was
Tough
definitely
weight. Tough weight.
It was good for him definitely to get in the finals. I mean, you talked about him cutting weight. I mean, somebody's got to talk about Deacon cutting weight because that guy is huge. He's a big dude.
He's big. Yeah, he's big, and I think, but you know, sometimes people look bigger than they are, right? I remember wrestling guys, and I look at him and I'm like, man, this dude is humongous. When I get out there, he's not as strong or not as big, but yeah, he's a big guy. He's a big guy, but he's going to wrestle, I think 70 kilos or so. He's got to get back down. He's got to get down to 54. He's not going 74 kilos, I don't think. So he's going 70, and so I guess, you know, he looks bigger than he is. I think probably until he gets on top of it. I don't understand how Deacon flattens everybody out. Everybody he wrestles, he flattens them out. I'm like when they're like on their belly when he's on top. I'm like, how does he ride like that? He's got some serious top pressure, man. He just freaking lays on guys.
I remember watching his matches like way back against Jason Nolf, Zane Rutherford.
Yeah.
Nolf was obviously, you know, just like putting it on him on the feet.
Yeah.
He picks top third period.
Yeah.
Literally bullies Nolf.
Yeah. Held him down.
Yeah. It's insane.
Held him down. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's why, of course, he didn't go down. People are like, why didn't he go down in the third period? I'm like, no.
It's a struggle to get out from him. Yeah.
Right? It don't take longer than a minute to get out. So he might get out, but it'd be like a minute and 15, 20 seconds or something. So he got a better chance of taking him down than he does getting from him.
Yeah. Do you think Deacon makes a world team this year?
Who? Deacon?
Do you think he makes the world team finally?
No.
OJ Green?
No. He's at, well, Jordan Oliver's in there. I think Pantelio's in there. Pantelio's tough.
I think he teched Pantelio.
He ain't taking Pantelio again.
I
don't see it happening, but I don't know though. He's good enough though. I think James Green's not in there, huh? Yeah, he's retired. So I think it's between. I think Jordan Oliver's in there. I think Jordan can beat any of those guys if he's wrestling well, you know. But he could. He's good enough. He's good enough. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think he's a great freestyle wrestler. He's got some growing to do in freestyle. He's a better folk style wrestler right now. But he's stingy. He's hard to get to, you know. And he's a strong kid. So we'll see. Yeah. But my bet, if James Green is not in there, my bet is Jordan Oliver.
I like that. I don't think he's actually competed at the World Championships yet, has he?
No, he hasn't.
That's crazy to see, like him and Ringer too.
I know, yeah, no, he hasn't. So we'll see. I think he's the best guys in there without Green. But again, Pantelio's he's tough, man. He can wrestle. And who else is in there? Zane in there? Rutherford's in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Unless he's down at 65 again.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Be fun to see.
I think looking at our timer here, I think we'll get into some fun questions. Let the fans get to know you a little bit better.
Right.
All right. So I'll pass it over to him first. He can go because I asked non-wrestling related questions, and you know he likes to get the wrestling stuff out of the way first. So I'll let him go.
Mine are better, but you know, your top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time.
Top 3 favorite wrestlers. I would have to say Lee Kemp, Jordan Burroughs, John Smith. It's probably my top.
In that order, or is there no particular order?
And I don't know about the order. John, John just because he's my teammate. We won together. We really kind of coached each other up during that period of time. And so, I got to lean toward John just because we were teammates. We won together at the same time, and so that was kind of a special thing for us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Final one. If you could wrestle one match against anybody that you've never wrestled before, and that's in the room, and actually, let's rephrase this. If you could pick from these guys to wrestle a match with, who would it be? We'll throw in Satiev there, we'll throw in Sidakov, we'll throw in Cotty, we'll throw in Dake, we'll throw in Burrows, we'll throw in I think you wrestled.
I cut to the chase. It'd be Jordan Burroughs.
Okay, there.
It'd be Jordan Burroughs. Yeah, Jordan Burroughs.
Is there a reason about this, or?
Well, just because he's the guy. He's got 6 titles. Lee Kemp. I wanted to wrestle Lee. I never got to wrestle Lee. I wanted to wrestle Lee, but I would have to give the edge to Burroughs just because he's got more titles. He's gonna be champ, so it would be Burroughs.
What's the score of that match when you're both in your prime?
In my prime with Jordan?
Yeah.
I don't know what to score. I don't give up points. I don't give up a lot of points. I never have, never will. So it'd probably be 6, 7, 1 or 2. Well, it's 2-point takedowns now. So I don't know if he can get a takedown, but it's probably be. I'd get him 7, 8, 8, 2 maybe.
Okay, that's solid. I like that
throw
response. Okay.
All right. Well, it's my turn.
He doesn't like upper body. He don't like going upper body. So I'd make him wrestle upper body.
All right. Well, it's my turn. So, Heavyweight Nation, us and our fans, we're some large men that enjoy some good food. So I have to ask you, while you were training at the Olympic Village, while you were wrestling, what was the weirdest food that you ate while you were there?
Kimchi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
You
it
know what that
good?
is?
Yeah, it's
No.
like fermented cabbage and
Yeah, that shit is hot, man. That's the weirdest thing I ever had. I was like, what? No.
And then final question. We asked this to every single one of our guests that's come on the podcast. If you could take, we'll have to figure, okay, we'll do it this way. So you were obviously on an Olympic team with some absolute crazy men at the time. So if you could take 3 of those men that were on your Olympic team with you, bring them into a zombie apocalypse, who would they be and why would you pick them?
I'm picking Kevin Jackson. And I'm picking Chris Campbell.
You get one more.
Oh, I get one more?
Yeah.
Probably Chris Campbell, Kevin, probably Mark Coleman.
Man, that's a lineup.
Bruce, yeah, that's a lineup. Bruce is a big guy. He's such a gentle guy, right? He would be trying to he'd try to bring everything down and talk to everybody out of fighting. Mark Coleman, he's ready to go. Coleman's ready to go. That boy's ready to fight. KJ ready to fight. Campbell, he ready to fight. He'll be my guy. I ain't picking John. That dude be running from people.
All right. It's been a pleasure. Obviously we love talking to you legends. It's great for us both being young, young college wrestlers. It's great to see and sit down and be able to talk to legends. So yeah, it was our pleasure. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Yep. Had fun, man. You guys are doing a great job, man. Wish you guys continued success. Keep setting the standard, keep being creative, and it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Big fans.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, man.
Thanks for coming on. This has been episode 115 Late Night Shots. We'll see you guys again next time.